Hello everyone and welcome to a car profile video which is a little bit different. We're looking at two cars today. First up in the background is the Audi R8 LMS Evo. Now this car recently got updated in the latest patch. Now we are going to have a look at those bot figures then. So it's got 484 brake horsepower. That didn't change. One of the key things that changed though was the weight. We lost 7 kilos in terms of this. It's down to 1,339 kilograms now. Now, with the Audi R8, the weight transfer is an extreme thing in this car. So losing 7 kilos, we may see quite a big difference. Now, it wasn't the only car that was updated. We have already done a car profile for this, and you can check that out at the end of this video to get more of the details of this car. We're also going to look at today the Genesis X Group 3 car. Of course, we've done a big car profile on this. Actually, really performed very well in that car profile. It was just before the patch came out when this car got updated. Now, I say it performed very well. It basically topped the boards absolutely everywhere, and we know it's a meta car, so we're going to see how it does. What's changed on this one? Well, first off, it's lost 6 horsepower, brake horsepower, which will be significant in terms of performance because one of the big areas this car was really powerful in was the acceleration. It's also lost a tiny bit of weight as well, so I'm assuming Gran Turismo are trying to keep that car at the front of the pack by knocking that horsepower down, but also knocking the weight down as well. So it's going to be interesting to see where these cars end up. Now, what we're going to do here is we're just going to jump to one of the cars on one of the tracks as we do the low, medium, and high-speed bot test. First up is the Audi R8 LMS Evo at Laguna Seca. Now, I've jumped to this car because this was the faster of the two cars at Laguna. It was indeed, and we're going to do that for most of this one, unless there's a specific reason why we go to a specific track. Now, we are racing that Nissan GTR Nismo GT3 car as we go through Sector 1. Let's see what time is happening here. Then. We're up here. We're up by half a tenth on the Nissan. Very interesting. Now, in terms of this Audi, it does feel a little bit more stable now with that weight that's just been reduced. It's only a little bit, but it's enough to help this car a little bit further. Going through here, not a problem. And as we head towards the kink, this kink can cause issues for some cars. I found it absolutely flew through here and really nicely as well. It really performed very well at the kink. Very unusual. One place MR cars do struggle though, of course, is this corkscrew here as we go into this one. Now, I did have one spin here, but in general, it wasn't too bad there. You can see I straight lined it a little bit here, and we're still up here. We've actually increased that gap a little bit there by another 0.02 of a second. So we're on for the potential faster slap here as we go into the right-hander, and we're going to head towards the last corner. For those new to these car profiles, we do a detailed one for an individual car, which you can check out at the end of this video. Also in the description is a full playlist. This is an update because their balance of performance has changed as we head towards the line, and it is a victory here then. This is now the new fastest car here then in terms of faster slaps, but remember, we do look at Optimums. Now, when we go to this leaderboard, in green is going to be the old car, and in red is the new car. Now, as you can see, the Genesis has actually gone down there, so the acceleration potentially losing it out, but it's within a tenth, so I'd say that's just... it is what it is. The big increase there was the Audi. That's gained a tenth there as well. So performed slightly better, I would say. Definitely feels a little bit better. So we can see the performance of the Audi. I'd say if it's the time is within a tenth of its original time, I'd argue it's stayed around the same place. But the Audi, to me, has gone that little bit further. The Genesis, to me, stayed the same. The Audi has gone that little bit further. It's now the car we are going to be comparing against as we go forward with these car profile tests. So, we're just seeing the end of the leaderboard here. The McLaren F1 was the previous very detailed car profile lap we did. You can check that out in the description in terms of the playlist. But that is it for the low-speed bot test. What we're going to do now is go to the medium-speed bot test where we stay in the Audi. And I want to stay in the Audi mainly for turn 1, just to talk about this. We're into turn 1. It still has the issue of that weight transfer, but it definitely didn't feel as extreme as it used to. It really didn't. So maybe it has helped solve that a little bit as we go into the S's now. Now, in terms of the weight transfer at Bathurst, which I will talk about here, because we're going to look at the Genesis at Bathurst, it still had the issue on the dipper with the weight transfer, so we've got to keep that in mind. It definitely feels a little bit more stable, but there's still an issue there. We are 1/10 down on that Porsche 911, then the fastest car currently here in terms of faster slaps then as we head towards Tidgney 1. Tidgney 1, this car absolutely flew through Tidgney 1 actually. Look at that, it's just superb. It absolutely flies through it. Same for Tidgney 2. It just rotates so nicely, this car, that we're going to head towards the end of Tidgney 2 then. And Sector 2, sorry, after Tidgney 2. And we are 2/10 down on the Porsche. The Porsche did very well there as we go into this left-hander. Goes around very nicely, gripped very nicely. There's still enough weight over that rear end then to accelerate out of the hairpin. The Genesis actually did struggle on the hairpin, I found. with the reduction of power, maybe it doesn't just rotate as much because it was a key part of the car, really. The power helped that rotation with just a little bit of wheel spin to get around the corner. It definitely has been reduced there in terms of the hairpin. Go through this left-hander then, all fine for the Audi. In terms of the Genesis just felt a bit more boaty, a little bit more boaty, and it's potentially why we did not see it in the 20-lap race at Suzuka as much as some of the other cars, because now it's just got that little bit more understeer because it can't spin the car around as much as it used to. Go through 130R then. Very nice speed here for the Audi as we go hard on the brakes. Very good braking distance in this car as well. Just have to be careful at low speeds with that weight transfer as well. We continue through here and we're going to head towards the line then. Let's see what kind of time this is going to be. We're 2 tenths down at the moment on that Porsche 911, and we finished 2.5 tenths down on the Porsche 911. Not a massive difference there between the cars, to be honest with you, but let's see where they both end up then in terms of the Optimums. Remember, we look at Optimums because it's much easier to get 10 faster sectors. Genesis has dropped down. It was P2, now down to P8. I say it did struggle here. I felt it struggled, so it's definitely been nerfed here in terms of Suzuka. The Audi R8, though, did increase that time then by another tenth there. Again, that's the stability going into turn 1. I felt I had more confidence. I feel like the old Audi could do that time here that I've done in the new Audi, but it's the confidence. It's a little bit easier to drive. Only a tiny bit, but it's enough to give you that little bit more confidence to then start edging your braking into turn 1. And of course, these sector times are going to end up on the website at some point. I know I've promised that many times. It's on my list of things to do. Just bear with me and you'll have the full detailed guides, all the sectors from all the laps, all on the website. You can go in through it in detail, absolutely analyze it line by line if you need to. Right, we're going to go to the Genesis then at Bathurst. This is a high-speed circuit as we head towards turn 1. Now, key thing to note here for the Genesis. Last time we did this car profile in the Genesis, it dominated Bathurst here. Now, the time trial is also at Bathurst, and the Genesis is dominating it there as well. So I'm expecting the car to do very well here as we head to the end of Sector 1 then. What we're looking at versus that Mazda, we are 1.5 tenths basically up then on that Mazda 19.0. That's the very best that we get here as we go into this right-hander. The Genesis suits Bathurst so well. I have no idea why. It just suits it beautifully. It flies up here. Still, that acceleration is still strong in this car. It has been reduced a little bit, but it's still strong as we go up here then and continue on up the mountain. The Audi R8 struggled here. I said that before. It just struggles. It's fine going up the hill. It's when you go downhill, that weight transfer being way too extreme. We're through here then. Look at this. Hardly lifting there. It's a little bit more lift than I expected, actually. We're hitting 140 as we get to the crest there. Through we go. Look at the speed carried through there. That is unbelievable speed then. How far up are we here on the Mazda? It's 2 tenths up at the moment. Then as we go into the right-hander, into the dipper, this is where the Audi struggles, as I say. No problem for the Genesis whatsoever here as we head down the mountain then as we go in towards this braking zone. You can see down at the bottom that Optimum, a 2-minute 1.3. That's what it's at right now. That's insane. That's absolutely Speedy Gonzalez here as we continue on down the mountain. Then let's have a look where we are versus this Mazda. It was just over 2 tenths at the previous sector. What are we looking at right now then as we get to the top of this hill? It's 2.5 tenths now. That gap is just growing and growing and growing here as we head towards the chase then. And we're going to go hard on the brakes as we go into here. We go through here, a little bit of a short shift there as we continue on out then as we head towards the last corner. No issues there whatsoever. Of course, we are going to be a little bit used to this car because of the time trial. It's why I delayed the test of this car for nearly 2 weeks because I didn't want that to impact this test at all. I waited and waited and waited, and here we are using this car now. We head towards the line there, and what it's going to be a 201.540. It is the fastest car here at Bathurst. Let's see what we have in terms of Optimum. So a 2-minute 1.3 so far. Did it go any further? That is the big question. That, I think from memory, is, yeah, look, it's easily the fastest. It's actually an improvement over the previous car. Now, the reason for that, I suspect, is to do with the starter sector 2. Obviously, it's got a little less power. It means a little less wheel spin. Maybe that's the reason for that, although it's within that 10th margin that I always talk about. You've not seen the Audi here because, of course, the Audi is struggling on the downhill section. It always struggles down there. All the MR cars do. You can see the old car there, a 202.511. So, in fact, the old car did better than the new version of that car. However, I will say this. It's a bit of luck of the draw, to be honest with you. And it's within a tenth, so actually, I'd say there's no real change there. The car just struggles. It's one of the reasons why I potentially may change the track from Bathurst to another high-speed circuit because it's just a bit too much luck of the draw there going on that downhill section. We'll see how we go with that, though. We're going to jump to a fuel test, and this is a bit different to normal because we're going to compare the cars together here. So it's Audi on the left, Genesis on the right, and at the top, we're half shifting, and at the bottom, we're doing the emergency fuel saving. If you want to have a look how the automatic works, you can look at the full detailed car profile. I'll give you all the results here, of course. Do not worry about that. All the results are going to show, including the automatic full rev as well, so we can see the performance. As we head towards the line, though, we're going to see here the Genesis crosses the line first there. 60% fuel. The Audi does save a little bit more, though. It does save a little bit more. 64% on the left. Half a second, so it's quite close there. And if we look down at the bottom, then the Genesis crosses the line first with the fuel saving down at the bottom, a bit closer than 3% then in terms of fuel difference there. So quite an interesting test there. So do you want to save a bit more fuel but go slower in the Audi, or do you want to do that in the Genesis? Quite an interesting test. It's up to you. Obviously, we measure performance in terms of saving fuel based on the maximum RPM, which you can see here. So the Genesis there, the new one lost power. Of course, it's lost power. That's why it's further down. I was just triggered in my mind now. I was like, that shouldn't be like that, but it is like that. So it's lost that power. Doesn't actually benefit from that. It still uses the same amount of fuel as we saw there. As we continue on, that Jaguar F-Type needs retesting. That will be retested at some point. I've got a list of when I'm doing these cars, of course. We've got the Audi R8 LMS, the new car there, with the slightly less weight, has improved that tiny little bit. Same fuel usage, but it's just gained the tiniest of margins there. So that's the performance. Now, the reason fuel saving is based on performance is because, yes, you could save 1,000,000% fuel, but if you're only going 1 mile an hour, there's no real point to it. You still need to be able to go quick. So in the next table, we're looking for the cars to be towards the front. The Genesis, as you can see, towards the front. It has lost a little bit of performance there. You can see that. It's lost, what, 0.03 of a second to the old version that it used to be. And that is, of course, the loss of power. The weight will help a little bit, 3 kilograms. It's not massive, though. I mean, if someone's had a sandwich, there's your 3 kilograms back in. It's quite a big sandwich, obviously, but hey, it is what it is. You can see the new Audi then ahead of the old Audi. However, it's using a little bit more power there. Sorry, a little bit more fuel, should I say. 64, that's an interesting note there. So I'm not actually sure what's happened other than that the Audi's managed to get to the top end quicker in terms of the rev range, and that's used that tiny bit more fuel. That's the only way I can see that working. However, it could be user error, based on the fact we're using quite extreme fuel margins here, or fuel usage, as we see the old car of the Genesis there, P number 7. The new car, not actually in the top 10 for this one. This is fuel map 3 on automatic, so it still revs the car out, but it is P11, so it's still very much up there in the grand scheme of it. The old versions of these cars will disappear from the tables after this video. I will be keeping a log or an archive of them, of course, but they will be disappearing. You can see there the new Audi is slightly ahead of the old Audi. It's not really a massive difference there with that weight change. I feel like it's more a handling benefit for the Audi rather than it's going to be benefit in any other way in terms of top speed or anything like that. In terms of the harshness then, the emergency fuel saving, the one we really want to know about, the Genesis is still a top performer there. P7 in the end has obviously gone down a little bit. You can see that right there. That, I mean, it used to be dominant, I would say. So we're going to see it used slightly less in the daily races, but it's still a dominant car. We see that here with all these tests. And we can see there the new Audi beating the old Audi. Same fuel usage. So yeah, the other test, probably user error. I say user error. Obviously, when I'm half shifting, I'm aiming for the white bar. If I've gone over it slightly, maybe it's just changed in terms of that fuel usage. That's what it is. If it's 1% either side, they're basically the same. They are basically the same. So that's the fuel test done then in terms of both of these cars. What we're going to do is we're going to do one test of the tyres in the Audi and one test in the Genesis. So first up is the Audi on the oval. I often talk about this, so I'll just repeat myself. Sorry for anyone who's heard this the 30-odd times I've done this car profile now. But essentially, what we're doing here is measuring how the tyres wear with just the weight of the car and as we accelerate around the Daytona Tri-Oval. And we're looking for when the first tyre runs out of tyre life. 0% tyre wear left or tyre tread left. And it's just basically a blank canvas, and we've just done it there. We add up both laps, or 3 laps if you get onto 3 laps, and then that is the test done and dusted. So we didn't even make it onto lap 3 there, so we know it's down, but MR cars are further down because the weight is over those rear tyres. We jump to the Genesis then for this test. This is Sardinia Layout C in reverse, and we're just going to have more human input now. We've got braking, accelerating, turning, and mistakes can happen, etc. You see here we've gone to lap 5. This is the standard. This is the average of getting to lap 5 then in terms of the Group 3 machines. And normally they start running out between here and this next corner. Does the Genesis run out of tyre as we go through here? No, it doesn't. So it's gone that little bit extra. That little bit extra compared to normal. That maybe reduced weight and reduced power is helping this a little bit. I'm not too sure. We'll have a look when we have a look at the tables at the end. As we go into this final corner, then it's just run out there going into this final corner. So we add up all 4 laps plus the remainder on this 5th lap. Gives us a total time of tyre life. And then we have a look where it fits on the table. So both cars have been tested now. Let's look at these final tables then. Let's have a look what's happened to these cars as we go into this end. So on the oval, the Genesis has improved, and by a lot actually. The reduction in power and reduction in weight. Obviously, less power going through those wheels. The tyre wear is reduced. Less weight. Tyre wear is reduced. And we can see that 5 seconds is quite significant. It really is. So a very interesting test to see there at the oval that the Genesis has improved tyre life on the oval. But it doesn't say everything here. See the Audi R8 LMS Evo, then the new version of the car is actually ahead of the old version. So that's the 140.166. It did lose 7 kilos. Let's see what it is. Yeah, so it's 6 tenths. It's gaining an extra 6 tenths of tyre life as we then go to the next table. Hopefully, when it rolls over, it's obviously still not good, the Audi R8 LMS Evo. We go to the tyre test on the circuit. So these are basically the front runners. Got a lot of cars we have to retest there. 4 cars on there we have to retest. So we'll see how they get on at some point in the future. The Genesis, the new car then, P14. So it has improved it. Longer tyre life. Could be significant in future races, especially endurance races if we do any more Suzukas. A big improvement actually in tyre life there. 6 seconds. We saw it at the oval. We've seen it again here at the circuit. Definitely an improvement in terms of tyre life for that Genesis. In terms of the Audi, it's actually lost tyre life. Lost it. So I'm assuming there, because we've got less weight over the rear wheels, we're spinning the rear wheels up a little bit more maybe. That's the only thing I can think of there with the reason that's happened. Also could be human error in terms of input as well. So just keep that in mind when you are looking at some of these tables. So none of the cars are in this top 10 in terms of top speed. However, none of the top speeds have actually changed with the cars. You can see there, they're identical on both their old forms and new forms. Red being the new form, the green being the old form. You can see that with the version 1.40. That's the old patch, or the last patch, when they had that performance. So we're just getting towards the end of this table, then the slower cars in the class. And I am expecting another car to be at the bottom of this table, which we'll see later on this week. I don't know whether you've seen the beat the meta for it yet. I don't believe you will have, but you're going to be seeing it tomorrow when you watch the video. Or it depends where you watch it. In summary then, the Genesis is still a meta car. It's still up there. It has lost a 1/10.5 though in terms of those times. And that was basically at Suzuka. The Audi R8 has improved the time a little bit. I do believe it is heading towards the meta car status though. Bathurst was the key problem there. But if you gain 3 tenths of a second there, on that circuit because of the dipper, it's very much in the meta car area. So the Audi R8 very much pushing that meta boundary. So if you are looking to use the Audi, it is a very good manufacturer and a very good car to use as long as you're not worried about tires, as we have seen in this video. But some interesting results there from the test. We've got a new fastest lap at Laguna. We've got a new fastest lap at Bathurst. I wonder what the next car is going to do. So just to let you know, in terms of the next cars that are going to be retested, we have the Jaguar F-Type, which was significant in terms of its change. And we also have the AMG Mercedes GT3 Evo. That's had a massive change as well. And that was used a lot at Suzuka. So that'll be really interesting to see how that car performs. If you have enjoyed this video, do give it a like. And if you don't want to miss those tests, make sure you're subscribed to the channel. We are on the journey to 50k, and I do appreciate all the support. Now, in terms of those car profiles, if you want the detailed versions of those car profiles, when I did them, they're both there for you, both the Audi and the Genesis. If you want to look at a different car, there's a playlist in the description, but that is going to be it for me, folks. A big thank you for watching as always, and I hope to see you in another video or live stream again very soon.